But how does somebody who has no manufacturing expertise get into manufacturing such a complex product?
Manufacturing happens on a long-term objective. You invest today, and the returns start coming in what 3, 4 in today's time, 5 years from now.
You're now in agriculture, you're now in defense, various other sectors. How does the company take decisions on which sectors to invest in and enter?
No logic can beat the gut of an entrepreneur. Being very clear here, and his gut can be wrong at times. His gut can be good, but ultimately it's his appetite which will make him enter a business. We are not the best selling company in the country. We are not the best marketing company in the country. We are not the best engineering company. But yes, we are a very good people company. Hiring good talent, retaining them, keeping them with us, and making them grow with us is something that JCBL excels in.
Do you think we can be globally relevant in manufacturing?
First, I'll start by qualifying the statement we are relevant. World knows that what India can do, China cannot do. We are more reliable than China in pharmaceutical. Fiberglass that I do, we are more reliable than China because it requires a process and it requires commitment, it requires consistent quality, which people are not confident from China, they're more confident from a small company like JCBL.
Hello and welcome to the Indian Dream Podcast. I'm your host, Siddharth. We are back with another episode on season two. As you know already, season two is going to be all about manufacturing and how India can become a manufacturing powerhouse. I know there's been a slight delay in the episode two coming out and just getting back into the rhythm starting January. I'm going to be way more regular with episodes with entrepreneurs who build manufacturing businesses. Today's episode is with Mr. Rishi Aggarwal, Managing Director of JCBL Group. They're India's leading mobility solutions provider. I will explain what that means in just a second. JCBL started in 1989 as a contract manufacturer to produce the bus coaches or the bus bodies that we've all been on. Since then, not only have they manufactured bus bodies or bus coaches under their own brand name of JCBL, but they've also expanded into other categories like ambulances, logistic vehicles like tankers and trucks, defense armored vehicles, and many more. They've been able to build a large business worth a few hundred crores over the last couple of decades. This is a story of what compounding can lead to. Compounding of investments, compounding of research and development, compounding of ambitions over the last 3 decades has resulted in JCBL Group becoming a large manufacturing powerhouse. They have factories across the country with more than 5 different business lines. This episode is a masterclass of how to do forward and backward integration on the back of a solid research and development mindset. If you're into manufacturing or aspire to be in it, this is a must-listen episode. Without further ado, let's jump into the conversation. Welcome, Mr. Rishi Aggarwal. He's the managing director at JCBL Group, and I'm really excited to have this conversation with you about how JCBL was built, about the R&D culture at JCBL, about the different business divisions and how you sort of start these divisions. Let's start back when JCBL started. What was the thesis? I know you were manufacturing buses for Swaraj at that point in time. Tell us a little bit about how the idea came about. How did you get into this? I know it was your father who started this, but would love to know the origins of JCBL.
So JCBL was started by my father way back in 1989. We were dealers for Swaraj Mazda buses in Karnal, Haryana, state of Haryana. A very small dealership, but my dad was always a very industrialist mentality person. You know, he kept on looking for opportunity to get into manufacturing somehow or the other. So he had requested the Swaraj Mazda management, the then managing director, Mr. Mahajan, that he would like to do something in manufacturing. Dealership is not what he's cut out for. He was more aspirational than that. So one day he got an offer for Swaraj Mazda to start making buses for them because they had huge shortage of buses in the market and they could not produce enough. And that started the journey. That started the journey of making what do you call it as, of setting up a plant in Punjab because Swaraj Mazda was a government insisted, Punjab government assisted unit. So that started the journey of us setting up a plant in Laluru, Punjab. And 89 we started setting up the plant. 91 we produced our first cargo box, and 92 we produced our first bus. And from 92 till probably 2000, Swaraj Mazda was our only customer also.
Interesting. From what you know about the story back then, I know you were not as involved in the business as you are today, of course. But how does somebody who has no manufacturing expertise, who's a dealer, get into manufacturing such a complex product?
So my father had a prior experience of manufacturing. He had set up 1 or 2 plants uh, in Delhi related to engineering goods and all. But when a family division happened, that side of the business went to somebody else. And if you look at it for a trader, manufacturing is a very difficult piece of business to get
Exactly.
because manufacturing happens on a long term objective. You invest today and the returns start coming in what, 3 4 in today's time, 5 years from now. In a trader, for a trader mindset, he needs his reward much faster. Every deal is a transaction. Every car that you sell is a transaction, so he's trying to make money on that. And so it's a very different mindset. uh, Not easy to take that shift. Very few people can take that shift. A lot of people take that shift and come back and say, no, boss, we are not cut out for that. We can't invest today and look for a harvest in 5 years. We want our crop to be cut every year or every month. So not easy, but I will give all the credit to my father. He was very industrial in nature, very enterprising in nature to be here.
Interesting. So, as you said, the first 8 9 years, Swaraj Mazda was the only customer. But then something interesting, which is also a big shift to make for, essentially you were contract manufacturers for Swaraj, and the shift to launching your own products. That's also a shift that a lot of manufacturers aim to take. Some take, but can't really make it. And very few sort of actually are able to do that transition of making their own products. How did that shift happen?
So, you know, as promoters, I joined business in '96. I think one thing very clear as promoters, we were here to make a difference to the market, and that's what we have always believed in. If you cannot make a difference to a sector, there's no point being in that sector. You can't be another player in a sector. So, as promoters, when I joined business in '96, and we took over the day-to-day management of JCBL. Before the day-to-day management of JCBL was partly with us. We had a partner in the business who we bought out in '96. We realized that JCBL was aspiring to build its own coach, but they were planning to copy a competitor's coach and to launch it as is, like a coach that looks like, but a 2 lakh cheaper coach. We saw that coach that was almost ready, and we had a management discussion, a very heated management discussion in house, where we decided in house means with our management team, and said, sorry, if I copy a competitor, I'm trying to tell him that tell everybody he's better than me. We will not do it. We will have to go back and redesign our coach, and which will be a fresh design. And most of the feedbacks that came in is that will push us back by 2 years. And I was very clear I didn't care. I'd rather go back 4 years, but by copying a competitor, I will not become, a number two in the industry. I will not self-proclaim myself to be number two in the industry.
The max you can get to is number two, right? It
Yeah.
can get worse. Yeah.
And so we scrapped that coach. We went back to the drawing board, and we realized we didn't have an R&D team. We just had a copy team. So we set up an R&D team. We set up a engineering department. Because before that, the drawings used to be handed over to us by Swaraj Mazda. So we didn't even have our own drawing department. We were just fabricators, I'll put it that way. And as a result, it took us 2 years. What was ready in '98, we launched in 2000 as Wave 2000. And the first bus that we launched in the Bangalore market was called Wave 2000, which failed miserably. I didn't even sell 25 of those in my thing. It was very embarrassing. We took the coastal market, did a fancy show. Uh, Customers came, they saw, they criticized, and they left. And we couldn't book any orders against competitions who were sold out for a year on a launch. Then the second launch happened in Chennai. Customers didn't come only. There were only three customers who came to see the bus, and then I
This was
thought
a passenger bus.
this is a passenger bus, 10, 11 meter on a Ashok Leyland chassis, and we called it Wave 2000. And then we went back to the drawing board and analyzed what went wrong, and we realized everything went wrong.
Who was the customer, by the way? Who were the typical customers who were buying these buses?
The bus transporters, yeah, different transporters who were running long distance between Bangalore, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad. So South is the biggest market for running these coaches, and
Right.
these were the transporters who happily came to our show, who happily came and saw the bus, and went back and said, "Sorry, guys." When I remember having dinner with one of the customers after the meet and saying, "I want to be number one," he said, "Mr. Aggarwal, the journey is too far. You are." He actually told me that's a figment of your imagination in a very kind words. I cannot forget that. But we came back and we tried to analyze what went wrong, and everything had been wrong. The bus face was black, which was not auspicious for the South market. The timing of launch was wrong. It was not in the best of periods for South. The shape, market wanted a round shape, and we were straight shape, which was we felt was more productive. Ultimately, market went to straight shape, but we were before our time. Um, the interiors were in a color scheme which did not sell very well in the tourist segment. So everything went wrong, and so we went back. We went back to drawing board. It took us a year, and we launched our second coach called Speed LX, Speed Luxury, and we bombed the market. We claimed what we wanted. That coach did so well. I cannot tell you, and it was probably one of the best coaches in the market for years after that. And after that, we never looked back. We had series of models that came out because our R&D was set. We understood the market. We had learned what succeeds in the market. And so we did series of products, Guide, Wish, Pride, Destiny, Speed, I told you. I don't remember most of the names also. So we did series of products and we were ranked as number one in the market, or we are still ranked as number one. And I'll tell you, most of the buses in the market after that were copied, our copies. And so that was for me a moment of success. When you see your competition copying your bus, you know you have achieved it. And or competition copying your features, and you say, "Oh, क्या boss, ये तो मेरा feature था यार." They have copied it. So that's what happened with us.
Interesting. And when you say manufacturing of coaches, so the chassis is from Ashok Leyland, and then everything that sits on top is what you guys manufacture.
Yes, either Ashok Leyland, Tata, Eicher, any of these customers. So chassis is a customer supplied product, and we do it. And and so we virtually from there onwards we were considered as the best in the market. Maybe not the largest because we were not doing ordinary buses. We wanted to be stay in a segment. But yes, one of the best and one of the best engineering companies and the best coach manufacturers in the country.
Interesting. I want to double down on one of the things that you mentioned, setting up an R&D when it didn't exist, right? You, as you said, you had a copy department before that. And the R&D culture has obviously been core to the DNA of JCBL because of how many products you've launched since, how many business divisions you've launched since. Tell me your perspective about R&D, the mistakes that you've made when it comes to, thinking about R&D, the mindset something like this requires. And the reason why I ask this is because as a country, I think we are still severely under investing in R&D across the board, across different industries. And for us to sort of claim that manufacturing top spot or be relevant globally manufacturer from a manufacturing perspective, R&D becomes one of those things that we really need to nail down. So would really love to understand your perspective on R&D and how you went about sort of building it within the DNA.
So I think we have to first. I'll take a step back and uh, R&D is about product engineering. R&D is not just aesthetics or drawing the fine lines of aesthetics and saying, "Oh, I've made something funky." That funkiness has to last. That product has to last the market, handle the test of times. So what I realized when we started doing this, we could not find product design engineers. We could not find industrial design engineers. What we did do with some team, and we were fortunate. My father has an excellent aesthetic and engineering sense. He was leading the team himself, and we brought in a couple of engineers from Netherlands to come and support us in the first phase. But we had to build a consistent R&D. We had to build a R&D which lasts. So when we started looking for engineers, we realized that India produced very few product design engineers, and India did not have good product design engineering departments. Sorry, institutes. NID used to produce a couple. There were one or two, but most what India was producing were engineers, not designers. And I have a study. I got a study done, and we realized that India at that time, I'm taking you back to early 2000, was producing only 350 product design engineers a year, and half of them used to leave India and go and work abroad. And what we were left were with a very few numbers, and which used to go into the top companies like Tata Motors or Samsungs or multinationals sitting in India and doing the job. So for companies like us, which needed to make a mark, there was no way we could do that in absence of good engineers. As a result, we thought what to do. We got in touch with NID. We told them, why don't your people start interning with us? So we brought in a lot of NID students to come and intern with us and work with us on our coaches. And so why? Because we needed a fresh perspective also. We needed a younger perspective also, and that worked very well. A lot of international partnerships happened with different design companies abroad. That helped our trained engineers to come up. But what experience that I got from here is that engineers that were coming to work with us, the product design engineers, if they were freshers or if they were coming from the institutes, they were not oriented to the industry. They came with theoretical knowledge. Their products looked funky, but they did to manufacture them was a pain, and they would not last well. And for those students or those individuals to adjust in an industry environment was a very difficult part. Some can't come on time, they find it too rigid and their creativity gets killed. Some, find it the shop floor too noisy to work. Some want music to work with. Some want, things like that. It was very funny. It was very funny. They wanted, I think they wanted a very different environment to work, and they did not realize that they were joining an industry, and industry has to have an industrial environment to work. And so that was the biggest challenge that we saw. And as a result, we conceived an idea of setting up the design village. Uh, I don't know whether you are aware that group has a product design or industrial design institute running out of Noida called the Design Village. Initially, the institute was supposed to be in Chandigarh, but somehow, for want of better faculty and better resources, we located it in Noida to start with. We train product design engineers. We train industrial design engineers there. A very small lot. We have about 400 odd students now. And idea is that every student who comes out with a design thinking. He excels in design thinking, and he's comfortable with the industrial environment. He is attuned to industrial environment. One of the such things that DDV does is something called, the TD means the design village does, is called villaging, where we take these students for 3 weeks uh, to a remote village in India and tell them to survive there without modern technology. And idea is because the real innovation happens in villages, because they do innovation not for fun or not for aesthetics. They do innovation to survive. They have to their survival depends on our innovation there. So our first few lots, we had a lot of students leave us when we proposed this. They said, are you joking? I came here to learn design. Who's going to our village? Who's going to do villaging? But now it's part of our DNA. Students join us and they know either they have to, this is going to come their way. And when we started this, we had a lot of debate in house on this because students were leaving, the unit the issue was not doing well. But then we came to a consensus: if we want to make a difference, again, I said as part of the group DNA, we want to make a difference. We want to produce students, or we want to take out students of different caliber or different who can settle in an industrial environment. There is no way that we let go of this core value of TDV. So, so going step by step from here, I'm just sorry I took a diversion to explain you
That's
about
fine. That's fine.
TDV, but
We were going to talk about the design village, so it's all good.
so by going by this thought process and trying to develop our team, and we were able to build a good team today, and I'm proud that today JCBL is recognized as a very good product design house. We not only work on our own products and designing and prototyping our own products, but we also act as design house for most of the commercial vehicle OEMs in the country, where when they get a customer who is wanting a special application products, they get that customer to us and say, please design it for us, and we do it.
Interesting.
Whether it's armored vehicle for a international government being supplied by one of the OEs, or it's a ambulance being designed to be given to the government of Nepal during COVID by Mr. Modi himself, or it's I can go on. Mobile display showrooms. It's a ISRO lab, the ISRO lab to show the rural villages what all ISRO has done. The ISRO museum has been done by us. To mobile service vans, mobile classrooms, mobile bank, mobile ATM van. Everything has been, we have, every year we probably do what 50, 60 odd different special application projects. And the day we do not have a special application projects, we have a problem because then our R&D team starts breathing circle project to those. We need a project, we need to do something innovative. So that's probably the DNA of JCBL now. If we are not doing something new, we don't enjoy to do it. We don't like.
One part of R&D is the talent that you sort of focused on and how you had to basically build it ground up because there wasn't an availability of it. But the other part is the mindset and the way you need to look at the investment in R&D, because investments in R&D take a long time to sort of actually give you returns on the balance sheet, right? Um, Especially when you were doing it initially, what was there pushback from the management team or people involved saying that we are investing so much in R&D? How does this come back in terms of profits or some sort of return on it? And in general, how do you look at the investment that goes into R&D?
See, I think we were on in consensus when it came to investment on R&D, and that's the reason we were able to bring JCBL to this level and build a name for us. So that's one part I'm very glad the top management was in consensus always. We never thought twice when it came for investment in R&D, whether it's looking for a 5-axis router to build better toolings when we didn't even need it, or scanning facility or a better software or something. We always invested in the right resources. One thing very unique about JCBL R&D is we just don't pure design. We design to prototype. So uh, our every product sees the light of the day, even if it doesn't get in repeated numbers, but at least one product is produced. So that gives us a very good hands-on experience to design the next one. So to say that R&D investments come in the long run, I don't agree. These are investments that you have to do, and you have to build a pipeline of these investments. It's like when you buy stocks in a stock market, keep on buying SIP year on year. So some stocks give you a return on the third year, some on the fourth year, some on the fifth year, and that's how it is. Like a small example, the what made us survive the bad COVID month, bad COVID year, when there was no schools, there were no tourists coming to India, so there was no demand for the bus, is the ambulances that we designed 3 years back. So the ambulance that we designed along with our customer Ashok Leyland for Indian Army, we got an order for that during COVID period. So those 700 ambulances that we executed at that time let our cash flows roll. Otherwise, we would have been in big trouble. Or those ambulances that we did for Bangladesh, I just spoke about during COVID
Yeah.
time. So I think it's an investment. It's an investment, and I'm not saying all investments will give you return, but you have to build a portfolio of investments for some to hit you, uh, come
And
back.
when it comes to the investments, is it generally a thumb rule to say X percentage of the revenues every year will be reinvested back into R&D, or is it as in when you need, as in when you see the market is going to head in a certain direction and we need to over invest in R&D to capture that market? How do you sort of take that decision?
So our minimum investment is about 8 to 10% of our profit that we invest in R&D. But it depends on the year and the demand from the customer, or how the year is looking like, or the potential that we see. It can go even higher. And, it can go even much higher. So, but it all depends on. So you look at every project as an opportunity, and then you say, "Acha, is project make will I be able to cover my cost? No. Okay, how many vehicles do I see the potential?" And then you go and invest.
Got it. I want to switch gears a little bit and probably related to investing in R&D is the different business divisions that you've been able to start after the JCBL core business of manufacturing bus coaches and different special application vehicles. You're now in agriculture. You're now in defense. You're now in various other sectors. How does the company take decisions on which sectors to invest in and enter? And how long a period do you sort of keep in mind in terms of return on some investment? You said three to 5 years.
in one of the questions earlier. But I'd love to know how you think about going into different business divisions.
Yeah, let me start by saying nothing, no logic can beat the gut of an entrepreneur. I'll be being very clear here. And his gut can be wrong at times, his gut can be good, but ultimately it's his appetite which will make him enter a business. I can show you entrepreneurs where you have thousands of data supporting that the product has to be, the industry has to be, invested in, but he will find one line item which says there's a risk here and he will stop there. And the other side, an entrepreneur will look at thousand negative lines and then look at one positive. Still, this government change is going to come, policy change, and I might, it is what there is. So there are multiple factors. One is a promoter gut. Second is how many resources that you have. Third, your aspiration and organizational vision. So our journey has been very logically plotted. If you look at, we started with a Mazda bus. We went into a luxury bus because that was the call of the hour. We used that development to develop small luxury bus, which is the market we still rule, because we felt that market was much more, had much more volume to offer than the large luxury. And like luxury school buses, we started that segment in India. Nobody knew what's a luxury school bus. Luxury school bus. Then we went into multiple special applications. Now we are doing motorhomes. As part of this project, one day Tata Motors approached us and said, "Would you do you want to do armoring vehicles?" And nobody knew a about armoring in JCBL. And I'm talking about 15 years back. We said, "Yes, we will do it." Something new, something exciting. Why say no to it? Yeah. We did the first armored vehicle for Tata Motors for the Indian Defence, the troop carrier. And we made that for 15 years. We still make them. And obviously different versions of it, but we do make them. That's how we got into armoring. Some one day, when the Kargil war happened and government of India realized that they needed a 4x4 ambulance to take that gradient, we were approached by Sarvaj Mazda that we need to make a 4x4 ambulance. Will you do it? That got us into the ambulance business. And so, it's our ability not to say no, A, to the customer need, or and also being excited about any new product coming our way. That got us into different versions of JCBL, different parts of JCBL. Then came in a manufacturer from France which said, we want to make specialized deep mining tippers. And I remember in that meeting, first dad said, "Who makes tippers? Yeah, it's a low-end product. Who makes it?" But then we said, "You said specialized tippers? What is special about them?" "Oh, we will be using a material which nobody else uses in India called hardox, which will make us tippers different than the others." So what was the key word? Different. And different is what we caught on, and we set up a plant in Chennai to make tippers. We were the largest tipper manufacturer in South India. Till last year, when we decided, no, it has now again become a very generic product. Let's move on from here. We are not making a visible impact. We are just being a pure fabricator. It doesn't make sense. So that's our bodybuilding journey. And during that journey, we had the privileges of visiting one of the best plants in India, in the world, and learning from them, which made our lines more efficient. We understood volume production. We understood, what offline and online means. We understood how standardization is important, how picturization is important. So this was the JCBL journey. But when we were doing this, we realized you cannot make a good coach purely by making a good coach. There's so many aggregates that go into a coach. That is a seat, a fiberglass, components, locks, hinges, window frames. And if you do not have that capability, you will never be able to make a good coach. And our volume was so low that nobody wanted to make them for us. So as a result, what you did, you went to APM Malaysia, bought the technology to make a good seat, set up a seat plant. You went to Statiform France, get the technology for make fiberglass, set up a fiberglass plant. You went to a German company to picked up the lock technology from them. And I'm saying picked up is not reverse engineering, picked up. You went to them and negotiated, or you went to an Italian company and said, I want to learn interior systems. How do I learn that? So that was a journey. And then there were different indicators to that journey, a different, which I will thank God Almighty to point us to the right direction or make us do the right decision. where when we were making seats, we were doing a captive 100% seat plant, and we were supplying our buses with our seats, and our buses were so good and our seats were so poor that, and we were not selling our buses without our seats, that customer used to buy our buses, go back, throw the seats away, put the fresh seats from the market and use it. So one day I was on my customer trip to Chennai. I visited a customer and he said, "Come, Rishi, I'll show you something." He took me there and there were heaps of my seats lying there. I said, "What are these? Why are they here? They're broken." He says, "No, your seats are so poor and I have to live. I have to live with them. What do I do?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You don't sell your buses without seats. I buy your buses with seats and I throw your seats away. And then I buy local seats and put them in the buses." I was very disturbed because A, he was telling me on my face that I'm making poor quality seats. B, he was telling me that I did not care for him. I did not understand his wishes. It was two pointers for me. I went back, I had a discussion in house, and we decided that we will allow other seats or we will let our seat quality go up. So one of the decisions that we came up is we cannot have 100% captive ancillary, which is dependent on JCBL operations. So we went and said 40% of our seats have to be sold outside. They have to compete in the market. Then only we will do. Otherwise, if we cannot sell 40% of our production outside, we cannot have that division in house. That
And
started
that
that.
is to say, unless you can compete in the market, you
Yeah.
can't really build
Yes.
a high quality
Yeah, yeah,
product.
yeah. If you can't compete and if you can't sell it to somebody else, you can't live on the legacy of the brand. Yeah, come on, that's not right. So we set up a new company called Mobility Solutions Limited, and we started, and we had so much trouble. I would tell you, customers bought our seats and returned back, bought our seats and returned back. We exported fiberglass to US. The container came back, and the second lot rejected, third lot rejected, and that's where we bought in the technology. The APM Malaysia came in, Stati from France came in to support us. I'm proud to say that today MSL is a company in itself, and its dependency on JCBL, which was targeted at 60%, is only 5%.
Oh, wow.
95% of our production we sell outside. And as a result, we are the best fiberglass company in the country. We're supplying to Alstom, we're supplying to General Electric, we're supplying to ICF, RCF. We have our components in Vande Bharat trains. We are currently catering to Chennai Metro, Lucknow Metro, uh, Sydney Metro, Mumbai Metro, uh, Mexico Metro. We're supplying fiberglass to them
And
from
when was this company started? Mobility Solutions Limited?
2004.
Okay, so 20 years now.
20 years now. And no, but for a very long time, it was a captive ancillary.
Right.
And we
And so
started
when
looking out in probably 2008 or something like that. So that was the birth of our fiberglass division, seating division, component division, and sheet metal division. Because we started by supplying to JCBL, and then we said, let's go and capture the market. Now, in the next phase, we realized that there was a lot of work happening in defense thanks to government's Make in India initiative. And we said we were doing so much work for defense, but we're doing it in a very scattered form. So it was decided to move all that business into a company called ADSL and look at defense production as a different initiative in itself, and that gave a birth to ADSL 4 years back, and where we are, where we I'm proud to say we have developed so many good projects for the Indian defense. To our credit is the first heavy drop system, hydraulic loading platforms, drones. Um, we have refurbished some old equipment coming from Russia 70 years back and supplied it back to them. Parachutes. I can go on, and why I took a pause in the middle is I was thinking what I can say and what I can't
yeah, yeah,
say in
yeah.
a platform. That was the reason I took a pause. Okay, am I at liberty to take names on the projects that I have done? But it's endless. The projects are endless today that we are doing there because again, the DNA of innovation always stayed. And
Right.
one thing team knew for any innovative project, they will get an approval to pursue. They do not have to worry about it. So that gave us ADSL birth. Now, bus industry has a very typical scenario where we have work 8 months in a year and 4 months is off season. And so off season the plants stay idle, and on season we produce. And when the plants are idle, you end up eroding 90% of your profitability in those 4 idle months. So
Mm.
as a result, we were thought of that what else can we do? And then we realized we were sitting in the tractor belt of India in Punjab, and we do not do anything with the tractor industry, whether it's supplying them components, and that's where the tractor agriculture implements came. And it was not an easy journey for us. We supplied products to the market, they failed. We went, recalled the product back, understood what's wrong. It took us a year again on the drawing board, and we again supplied the product again. And we realized our costings were wrong. We were too expensive for the market because of the earlier failure. We had over designed the product. Then we again went back to the market. This is our third launch to the market. I'm
Mm.
telling you, a lot of groups will drop the project and move on. But I was confident we can do a good product. And if I have to move on from a project, I will rather move on after I know I have designed a good product and say it's not commercially viable. Then move on when I am a failure. I can't carry that tag with me. So that's how it is. So this is
Okay.
how our innovation journey or our manufacturing journey kept on going.
Okay, so there are two parts to, I specifically mentioned about the scaling up and how you got onto different business divisions, and now it's very clear on how you thought about it and how everything is sort of connected. Even though from the outside it might not look like that, but everything was sort of connected internally in how you entered these decisions or these businesses. But there are two parts to it. One is the people that you need to run this bigger show. So many different companies, so many different departments, so many different areas that you're targeting, and then the capital. I'm going to talk about both in double click on both of those, but let's talk about people. uh, in the industry that you're in, both the white collar and the blue collar, you need a lot of those people from a top management perspective across different companies, and also to run a lot of these factories. What's been your principles that have helped you sort of build the right team together at both levels?
So JCBL believes in a principle, and we say that everywhere, is when inspired minds come together, miracles happen. Uh, and I think we truly believe in that statement. I can safely say that we are not the best selling company in the country. We are not the best marketing company in the country. We are not the best engineering company in the country. But yes, we are a very good people company. Hiring good talent, retaining them, keeping them with us, and making them grow with us is something that JCBL excels in. What is
How do you find the right talent? Because one of the things that when you speak to manufacturers in general is the complaint that they have about the Indian labor force, and the people and the entitlement and all of those things. Very common to hear in the business ecosystem, right?
I was not talking about the blue collars right now. I was talking about the
Okay,
white collars first.
fair.
Uh, so the fact that JCWell Group currently is about 12 companies, and maybe 5 or 6 of our CEOs have been with the group for more than 20 years. And they started their journey either as assistant managers or manager operations, and they have been groomed. 4 of them are managing directors of the group right now. And then they are operational heads and their business heads, and who have stayed on. You can come here and see the legacy team. I think average legacy of top management would be about 13-year plus or 13 or 14-year. That talks about the fact that we retain our talent and we invest on our talent. Otherwise, most of these people will touch their Peters principle and have to drop out much early or stay at a level. Uh, but now comes hiring a talent. I think from it has been our philosophy in most of our businesses. We can't do it in every, but that we want to bring 80% of our top management from underneath. Look, we have to groom 80% of top management in house. So we have a lot of leadership development programs going on. We hire a lot of people directly from universities. We hire we there's a lot of there's a process of IJP, internal job placement, where a person can choose to be shift between different companies of the group. So things like that is what gives us our talent. You know, the aspirants can come up, and I think people who come up the ranks are the more loyal ones to the organization, and they stick on, and their ownership to the organization is much strong. Now, coming to the blue collars, that's a very serious challenge today. I'm finding skilled manpower is a serious challenge. Um, I think that's probably one of the roadblocks uh, everybody is seeing. So one of the ways of countering that is automation. Looking for better equipment, going for higher productivity. That's what we are doing. But yes, if you ask me, is that a roadblock? Yes, that's a roadblock today.
What do you think
Fine.
is the core problem? Is it lack of skilling opportunities or lack of intent to get skilled, lack of intent to work in industries? What do you think is the core on ground problem?
I think that all this it's a complex problem. Our education system is not skilling very well. The skill programs are not being opted for by people. The skill centers are not being opted for by the people who want to be industry. The the rural support programs are so strong right now. The motivation to move out of rural or migrate to industry is less. The opportunity to stand in a store and sell in an air conditioned environment and get your basic sustenance right is easy. Then to stand in an industrial environment where you have to face the heat and hot and cold weather and harshness of the environment is less. Is more
Yeah.
demotivating that. So there are multiple factors here, I think. But the one core issue is our education system. The people who are coming out from universities, or not university, I'll say that. We're talking about blue collars, the ITIs and the um, diploma holders are not skilled enough because the industry education interaction is very low. What they're teaching is not what I need. And
Hmm.
what I need, they don't know.
Hmm.
That interaction is where what is missing today.
Given the population, do you think, there is obviously the intent problem, the, people don't want to move out of the rural, but given the population, if we get the skilling part of it right, which is teach what's needed, do you think that elevates the problem at least by 60-70% on just getting the skilling right?
100%. The problem will be solved for good and we will be sorted for next 10 years. I think that's our biggest strength. Our population is our biggest strength. And we have
So
to.
then,
Hmm.
I mean, isn't that a relatively easy problem to solve?
No,
No?
I'm
Why?
sorry.
Why?
I'm sorry. It's a years of education system that we are following in. It's a years of
Hmm.
mindset that need to be changed. The working has to start from the rural level. Working has to start from the level when a child reaches his fifth or sixth grade or seventh grade. That small skilling exercises in the school. Um, I'm just saying, I'm not an educationist. Please bear with me with the fact, but I'm just saying this has to be blended into the DNA of the youngsters who are coming out. This has to be blended. The thrill of creating something has to be injected there, which is missing today.
Hmm. I also feel like over the last 10 years, the focus on software engineering because of the IT boom, the IT services boom, led to so many people just pursuing that, regardless of the fact that they were mechanical engineers or civil engineers, ended up going to Infosys or a bunch of these places. And now they're realizing one, the initial pay might have been good, but the growth isn't. And versus in manufacturing in a lot of these places, I think the initial pay might be one of the factors that they look at without seeing the overall trajectory and say, no, this is not the job that I want to do. But the potential growth of like becoming a production manager, becoming a leader within the company, and as you said, you have a lot of those people who've risen through the ranks to actually now be executives, right? Is that is that not exposed enough to the people, and which is why they've sort of, like a herd, we've gone and done software engineering in lakhs and lakhs?
So you have to understand, Indian manufacturing cycle is just beginning.
Hmm.
For this, our manufacturing cycle was also stagnated. How many greenfield projects did we see?
True.
How
True.
many? It is beginning. अब क्या होगा कि the people who are already in the industry will see a big rise, the
Right.
growth in salaries, and when the youngsters will see that, there will be a visible shift from IT, as you said, to this. Like I said, this is a year of civil engineers and mechanical engineers again. This is the decade, sorry, of civil.
Right.
We still have to build the nation. We will require
Hmm.
more civil engineers. We will require more architects. We will require more. आज से पहले IT में people were seeing the growth, and they were seeing the growth. The kids were going there. It's a demand and
Right.
a supply thing.
Yeah.
Today, when manufacturing is growing and we don't find good people in now I'm coming to white collar, we don't find good people. So what will happen? The demand and supply will cause their will give them exponential rise, and when
Correct.
people will see that, there will be a shift.
Like a
You know,
pendulum, it
there
keeps
was
sort of. Yeah.
so many episodes where you have a person working with you for 10 years and he'll come and tell you, my son just passed out from college and Infosys has given him a package more than me and I've worked all my life. And that was true.
That
And
was true. Yeah.
how will be a youngster motivated to then join manufacturing?
Right.
But so what will happen is IT will come down, rationalize a little with AI and everything coming, they will rationalize a little more. Manufacturing will go up, and the flow will happen like this. So
Hmm.
that's what I think. I'm not an expert at it, but that's what my common sense says to me.
Makes sense. You mentioned something about India's manufacturing sort of, cycle starting now. Do you think we still stand a chance with where China is? Do you think we can be globally relevant in manufacturing? And if so, what does it take from here?
I first I'll start by qualifying the statement. We are relevant in global manufacturing.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not maybe we're small, but we are relevant.
Right.
And because there are sectors of the industry where world knows that what India can do, China cannot do. We are more reliable than China in pharmaceuticals. We are more reliable than China.
Right.
Areas. So we are in fiberglass that I do. We are more reliable than China because it requires a process and it requires commitment. It requires consistent quality, which people are not confident from China. They're more confident from a small country like not small, a small
Yeah.
company like JCBL. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm just saying, today when GE makes their locomotives in US, most of my companies go direct on their line, and I am single source to them in most of those components. So we are not irrelevant. We are relevant,
Hmm.
but we are sector-wise relevant.
Right.
Yes, if we want to scale up to size, it will happen. Government's focus is right. They're pushing that uh, PLA schemes and everything. They're pushing it right. Uh, it's a how do I say? In the dynamics, we will be very foolish to miss the bus this time. Everything is right. Everything is.
Exactly. I agree. I
Well,
agree.
it will be
And
a self.
probably the last time we'll get a chance.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
would
yeah,
think this is
yeah.
the.
If
Yeah.
this time we miss the bus, we will be foolish. We would have done something very nicely wrong. matlab,
Hmm.
to have missed the bus. People are looking at an alternative. Our labor cost is already still low. Our demography is very nice. We have a great relationship. We are a neutral power center in the world today. The government is bringing right policies. I think everything is going right now. I remember 90. 8 when he has to go abroad to get a collaboration or something, my presentation start, why India, why JCBL. Now the first part of the presentation is not required. Was why India? They know. They
Hmm.
say, tell us what you want. So we have positioning is right. Well, I'm just saying we will have to be very very foolish और इसको self goal कहते हैं ना.
Hmm.
सेल्फ गोल करेंगे तो हम कुछ irrelevant हो जाएंगे फिर से. Otherwise, nothing can stop our manufacturing. I'm very bullish. I'm very bullish as a person. Yeah.
And then is the idea then to say, look at sectors and look at opportunities that China can't already do well rather than trying competing with them on like the likes to likes, right? For example, electronic sector. Some of the electronics, they're so far ahead that entering now and trying to build capacity or get to that level might not make sense, but look for niches that China is not good at today where the industry is moving and try and focus on that.
Exactly, exactly. We have to find our own niche. We have to find our own. We cannot make China irrelevant. Us
Yeah.
becoming relevant does not mean China will become relevant. We cannot make China irrelevant, come what may, uh, in this entire metrics. So
Yeah.
if we have to do that, and we have to find our own niche. We have to find the sectors that we can excel in, and then bring all our focus towards those sectors.
So, sir, tell me something. Let's say somebody is 23, 24, 25. Maybe some capital, access to some capital, maybe not as much. But if you were to put yourself in those shoes and want to get into manufacturing now, how do you even start? finding what that niche is, right? Because a lot of these younger people might not have that breadth of experience or the family background to say, okay, we should get into this. And I would think we will need a lot of these first time entrepreneurs to actually get into manufacturing rather than relying on the existing businesses. How would you go about figuring that out?
So I think finding your niche or finding what you want to do will be a very clear factor of the capital that you have in hand and the skill that you are employing for a first-time entrepreneur. Uh, I think the best way to start is to be a tier two or tier three supplier to a niche
Mm.
company, and then moving forward. I would do that. That's the safest bet. Uh, I will approach a company like uh, there's so many electric companies coming today. I'll approach them as a tier two supplier. So many drone companies.
Help us understand what is tier 2 supplier.
Tier two supplier is like supplying to an OE where the front end product and marketing is held by somebody else. Until you have a niche technology that you are selling, there's no point going straight to the market and trying to market a product. I rather have a front end, somebody else doing the like Ola. Ola is already investing millions and billions, but I'd rather be a supplier to Ola first and then expand my vertical myself, you know, backward or forward over the period of time. But that's the I think that's the easiest. And until unless again I'm saying until I have a unique technology which I feel and I'm confident that I will be able to market, that's a very different story.
Yeah. Inherently manufacturing is a long term game, right? You have to plan for 10, 15, 20 years to see that success that might the ambitions that you might have will take a long time to sort of get there.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm just saying it's like building the block step by step. Yeah. Either do you have a huge corpus of money where you go full hog and say, I will go and do the works. That's the China model. They will
Yeah.
borrow, they will have state subsidy, they will have, but they will go and set up what they need for next 10 years in one go.
Mm,
And then
mm,
they will use that scale to enter the market. That's what
right.
that's their way of doing it. That's not the Indian way of doing it. Indian way of doing it will we build it step by step. We will
One.
go
Yeah.
in. So step by step is first align yourself to a good principal, a good partner, start your journey, and then see how you can innovate to become better and how you can verticalize or you can deep dive.
Yeah.
That's the way I would do it if I have to start fresh.
Got it. Do you think trade fairs and all these exhibitions in this sector matter a lot to sort of get exposure on what's happening?
A lot. A
Yeah.
lot. If somebody who's heading day-to-day operations or starting up or even running a show, uh, he has to walk all relevant shows related to his industry. I still do it. Uh, I still like to be part of any booth that we set up. If we are part of the trade shows internationally, I still want to be there. Uh, though now I've started missing a lot of them because of time constraints and all. But otherwise, there was a time I used to be part of every booth, not because I enjoyed being there, but because you get the first-hand customer knowledge, you get first-hand experience from competition, and you know what's happening in the market. There cannot be a better catch-up to the industry than those 3 days at a trade show.
Got it.
And I think that's
Um,
one area. I'm sorry, ask-
yeah. Go for it.
that's one area where Indian government also has to do a lot of catching up. We have improved our shows, like our defense show has become better, our air show has become, but our relevant industry shows have to become,
Mm,
and relevant industry shows have to be organized better and to ensure the right customers internationally approach us. Our industries have to be given more opportunity than just a small booth in a show in Hanover or somewhere. Have to be given more opportunity, more support, more subsidy so that they can showcase their products. That's the only way an MSME can reach abroad. And that's the only way an MSME can grow. Because MSME does not have the resources to go and set up a huge booth or showcase their product range, and a small booth does not get them that credibility. That gives them a
right.
presence. So that's where also we will have to look at.
Got it. One of the things that you mentioned about capital, which is relevant both for your JCBL scale up journey and also somebody who's starting up new, especially for your JCBL scale up journey. And this will be a good segue to understand what are the capital options available for manufacturing, because in the startup ecosystem we see a lot of those venture capital funding, which is not directly translatable in manufacturing. In your scale up journey, what was the source of capital? Was it mostly the profits that were being reinvested from one business division to sort of stand the other business divisions along with debt, or were you sort of, there were other sources as well?
So in our journey, it started with the promoter funds and the bank, and it's still funding and the banks. And
Got it.
we have no cross holdings. So whatever promoters invest are from their own personal wealth, or the company grows on its own with its own internal resources. But one thing very unique about us is we are very frugal in nature.
Hmm.
We're very, very cost conscious in nature. We're very, very frugal. As promoters, our personal drawings are bare minimum because everything that we earn is reinvested in making the business grow. And we have very strong cost controls among our divisions also. It's like MSL makes seats, they come to JCBL. If MSL starts supplying them expensive than competition, JCBL will stop buying from them. So that keeps MSL on toes to being more efficient. And when they're efficient for JCBL, they're efficient for the rest of the market also. And so that's how it is. Our cost controls are very, very strong. We have mapped custodian to every cost center. So every cost,
Hmm.
there's a relevant or there's a custodian handling a cost center so that he can control, like there's nothing that goes wrong. He knows when his costs are going. So we control our cost very well, not just in our manufacturing businesses but our trading businesses also, all across. That's and there's nothing, no substitute to that. To
Yeah.
good financial discipline, nothing, no substitute to that. Any amount of
And
subsidy, any amount of funding can go waste if you don't have a good cost financial management.
100%. And when you say frugal, I think it's also misconstrued or misunderstood to apply then using that logic to say we are not going to invest in R&D or we're going to sort of cut corners in quality, right? They're very different things when it says frugality as a DNA versus, quality and R&D still top notch.
Yeah. So, like I said, our DNA is R&D. We spend on R&D. We spend on our IT backbone. We spend on our data centers. Where you have to spend, you have to spend, and where you have to bring in the best, you have to bring in the best. Like hiring people, you have to hire what you can hire the best. But there are areas where you can cut corners, and there are areas where you should cut corners. Uh, and that's
Yeah.
what and also controlling the cost. It's not just it's monitoring the cost is the right word. Also monitoring the cost is a better word in this.
As you were going through that scale up journey, I'm sure debt also, the bank debt also played a role in supporting it. uh, all these lessons that you now, you know imbibe as principles or part of the DNA, did it come from financial setbacks or like financial, mismanagement that happened, or the promoter group sort of seeing, how the funds were misallocated, or was that something that was from day one?
We have had our own learnings, as I call our own tuition fees that we paid in our journey. Um, uh, but there was some discipline that came in as DNA from our legacy, like telling our bank account on daily basis was a DNA that I inherited from my father when I came in, and he said, first thing, the bank accounts have to tell you every day. There is nothing called the bill reconciliation statement. And we had learned bill reconciliation statement in our masters, and I said, come on, everybody does this. And no, you want to do it every day. I
Hmm.
need to know what my bank balances are on a daily basis. I cannot. So I'm just saying there's certain things that came to us. Maybe it was their learning from the past that made it a rule for the organization. On the other side, uh, they were learning that we did. Like before Lehman Brothers or 2008, the group barely did any government business. We were only into private segment and OEs, and the market crashed. And when market crashes, OEs and private customers are the first ones to go away. And the government still keeps on pumping money to support the economy, or they are still a buyer. But we didn't have government as customer. And that was our learning there. And then we sat down and said, no, I need 30% of my business to come from the government agencies so that at
Hmm.
least I survive. We had no exports. And that's why we said, no, we need to develop exports. I'm saying those are the journey that you cross. And again, on financial management, there are times that you commit mistakes and then you go back and see, "Yeah, what did I do wrong here?" And
Mm.
it's like maybe overspending on manufacturing, or on construction, overspending on construction, uh, or taking certain decisions of, probably moving on to a robotic production on a low volume thing, and
Mm.
realizing, cost is coming per is per unit is going up, not going down. But those are learnings and tuitions that you will bear, along the way.
Essentially, the game is to not take that big a risk that you go bust, right? Everything that is digestible, you have to take that risk, and some will pan out, some will not pan out.
Yeah, agreed,
Yeah,
agreed,
yeah,
agreed. You're saying we have to know what you can handle, what you
yeah,
can digest actually. And
yeah.
but again, आप जितना मर्जी कर लो सिद्धार्थ, I think आप whatever you may do in life, you will hit those, you will make those mistakes, and those mistakes, whether they will become your learning for the next time the same problem comes, or it will just slow you down or make you risk averse, is a call that you have to take as a promoter.
That's a very important lesson there. I think I've actually seen this in my life where people who got into manufacturing or any kind of business, if they saw a setback, a harsh setback in the first 2 3 years of their existence, some people actually became so risk averse that even when the things were right, they weren't able to press the accelerator and actually double down, right? Versus what you said, just take it as a learning and then still be ready to take that risk when the time comes.
Yeah. Well, I'd say the success only comes to people, don't not that who are lucky, but people who can, who are successful or who have done good job or who are lucky. But success comes to a person when who falls down and gets up and says, "Bring it on, yeah. What's next for me?"
Mm,
You know,
mm,
your ability to get up after a failure defines your success. Some of the examples for the group is, we as promoters, we were so used to running localized plants where we used to go every day, sit every day, run
right.
every day. That when we set up a plant in Chennai, we lost money for 5 years. 5 years we lost money, because we could not handle the system. We were not there as promoters, and
Right.
we could not. And it was a new geographical location. It was a new demography. It was a different mindset of
Language.
people,
Yeah.
language, uh, and it was terrible. But that learning stayed with us. Now, if I have to do another plant somewhere, it's so easy for me to do. I know what I did wrong. When
Yeah.
we entered a new sector, then manufacturing, I don't know whether you know that we were in pharmaceutical before. We just sold our
Mm.
pharmaceutical. When we entered it, there was a sector not known to us. And first I went in, I tried to learn how to run a pharma unit. And I said, come on. Then I went back, I said, no, my strength is management. My strength is not running a pharmaceutical unit. So let me go back to my core area. So I'm just saying, and that's what helped us in diversifying into so many different areas. Today we have Ayurvedic brands. Today we have different businesses that we do. Is why? Because we concentrate what our core strength is. That is management. We are
Got it.
not the pharma specialist, or we are not the insurance specialist. We are supposed to manage. That's our job. So I'm saying it's how you take your learnings when you move forward.
Yeah, because the Chennai plant could have been in the fourth year, you shut it down and say, never again, never am I starting a manufacturing facility outside of my local region. Or the other thing is, let's figure this one out, because if we can figure this one out, then you can go out and do it anywhere else.
So I shifted a old team member from north to south to run the unit, and he's now the managing director there. And first thing I told him, I said, my worry is not that I will lose money in Chennai. My worry is, if this shuts down, I will never be
Mm,
able to set up a multi-location plant, and that's not what I want to do. You're getting where I'm coming from,
absolutely.
and that he was here today, and we were just talking, and he said that stayed on with me. He says, so you put a responsibility on my head, not for the plant but for the group's future of expansion. And this plant is doing very well. He was able to turn it around, but he said, I can't even tell you the responsibility that you gave me when you said all these things. And that's what the fact, that's what I believe in. If it would not have been a success, it could have been a mental block in my head, or probably the family's head, where I said, can I set up a plant in Gujarat? They, come on, yeah, you couldn't run in Chennai. What will you run in Gujarat?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Even I think it also becomes a part of the company's DNA, right? When you're again sort of taking a bet, there are murmurs inside the organization कि यार एक बार किया था, फेल हो
हाँ,
गए, हम वापस क्यों कर रहे हैं ये, राइट? एंड देन यू डोंट पुट योर बेस्ट फुट फॉरवर्ड एंड इट बिकम्स अ सेल्फ फुलफिलिंग प्रोफेसी कि हाँ बोला था नहीं करना है, ये भी फेल हो गया, वो भी फेल हो गया.
yeah.
Okay, so in that same sort of context of capital, um, do you think when it comes to new manufacturing sort of capex investments, apart from the existing sort of standing business houses, um, the sources still remain the same technically, right? The promoter funds and debt, or do you think there is an emergence, or there is a need for an emergence of a different kind of capital to be infused in
We,
manufacturing?
we we are talking about if you're talking about PE funding or going public or
Or
international.
even at a lower level, some sort of a I don't want to call it venture capital because the kind of business model they have doesn't work for manufacturing, but the initial startup capital, apart from, I guess, government subsidies are technically one of them, but it still remains debt and promoter funds, right? Largely.
It's debt, promoter funds, PE funding, or international partner funding, strategic partner funding. I think these are the
Tell me a
areas.
little more about the international partner funding, because I've heard this from a few people, and I think that is very relevant for where we stand in India, given the fact that we don't have a lot of these technologies to manufacture.
So what is happening is a lot of internet. We have not deployed these funds till now, but we're not even used these funds till now. But there are a lot of international companies looking at setting up manufacturing units in India. But when they want to set up manufacturing, they want a local partner to handle the local problems. They do not. They think they will not be able to manage the local issues well, so they need an international partner, and that's where a strategic investment comes in. And those customers not just bring in technology, they also bring in the customer book because they buy back
Mm,
arrangements. Uh, so it's a beautiful area to get into. It's a but uh, it's a chicken and egg story, you know. For a fresh starter person, why would somebody
how do you
invest
find
in
it?
him, and how will he find somebody until unless he's either has a skill set or knowledge which is very unique in nature, which those people want, or already has a business where he can say, okay, fine, you already are doing it. Let's like one of my cousins, he runs a casting unit, and he has been approached by an international company saying, why didn't you set up another unit? I will give you an upfront support and I will buy back your production for next 5 years. I'm just saying, so that those are those strategic tie-ups which will come and are coming in India because everybody is looking at India currently as a
Yeah,
additional sourcing or under the China plus one philosophy.
correct.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, I think we've gone through most of the questions, sir. This was deeply insightful. I'm so glad that I got a chance to talk to you about your JCBL journey and about your learnings across the board, which are very key for people to learn when it comes to setting up manufacturing and making us even more relevant at a global scale when it comes to India as a manufacturing hub. Thank you so much for taking the time out, and thank you so much for sharing all of this with us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.